can I do something I tend to do when I welcome people in the space? And you will see, I mean, you may be like, oh, is she a little bit of cuckoo? I may be, but to, to a positive extent. So, welcome. So, my name is Christina Kapadocha. I am a theater and embodiment practitioner researcher. Now, mind you, I used to say theater and movement, but then sometimes movement may not be embodied. So when I am referring to embodiment, I always talk about dynamics. I move and I think. I move and I feel. I move and I sense. I move and I imagine. I move and I interact with the space. I move and I interact with the others. I move and magical things can come up. But also, this same awareness can emerge in what I would like to call active stillness, right? There is something about checking in what is happening before the movement. Just for you to get a little bit more of my identity, I thought about giving you some basic stops in my journey, because I recently realized that I've been doing this thing in some way or form for almost 20 years now. So the first time I experienced contact, and I have to say, unfortunately, not in the most positive way, in a quite intrusive way, was in my classical singing training in the age of 15. And then we skip a few years, and I did my first BA in literature, which I never utilized per se, but it is always there to underlie and, be some sort of undercurrent in my work. Then I went and I started acting at the Greek National Theatre Drama School, which is affiliated with the National Theatre in Greece, where I worked for a few years, either at the national or independent productions. It's actually quite moving for me that Mayu, the scenographer who helped a little bit with this extra layer of skin in the space, is the scenographer who worked for the first production I was in at the National. So it feels like a cycle. And then I got a little bit of what National Theatre can be. I developed my own personal experience. I was like, okay, let's move a little bit further out Greece. And I got a scholarship, and I came here and I did my MA in acting at East 15 Acting School, where I'm currently a full-time lecturer, so another cycle there. And then the scholarship people told me, oh, you know what? We would like to keep supporting you if you will go to a higher level. I had an idea. Royal Central School of Speech and Drama was offering practice as research, PhD, so I was like, okay, let's do that. And this is how I got a PhD. Not a doctor, like a medical one. And in parallel, I got my diploma as a somatic movement educator and therapist. Again, I'm not practicing therapy, even though it has been part of my learning and practicing experience, so I'll get my diploma. But again, therapeutic intentions work as undercurrent in my work and in what I wish to offer. And through that, I started teaching. I started teaching my practice, which I introduced as somatic acting process, and, working as creator, director, movement director, all these things. And as part of that, I shaped the project that I'm offering to you today, which actually emerged particularly during the pandemic. But then I realized that, there is something more about self-directed touch, to which I'll come back in a sec. All this, again, not to show off in any way or form. It's for me to transparently say, this is how I'm holding the space for you. It comes through a long journey. Does it make sense? So today, I'm going to be simply your humble facilitator. Facilitator, performer, performer, facilitator. I like playing in between these two roles. This is an event, as I indicated before, on personal, self-directed, caring, hopefully resourceful touch. Non-sexual. We do not want to focus on anything that is not serving us today, but of course, I'm fully here to hold the experiences if something pops up, because there is no such a thing as one experience and as one quality of touch. And mind you, the secret in that is that we're not coming in physical contact with each other. Sorry, this is intentional for today. So we will see what sort of resources we can take out of it. How is that possible, you may ask, Christina? Hopefully, we will sense. So as I open the theme of touch or physical contact, my first invitation for you, and you may have already had a sneak peek at the questionnaire, is to softly, without overthinking, attend to which three words come up now in my mind as Christina offered the word touch or physical contact. And feel free to be more private and write it down on your questionnaire. Or you may wish to be more playful. There are markers, and you can come and write the words here. Or if you like more the floor, you can go and write the words there. Can we do that? Go for it. Warmth. Yes. I'm going to be doing that, sorry. Mapping. Listening. Love. Listening, love, warmth, mapping, sense. Distance, connection, relation, need, see, skin. Soft, safe, comfort, home, intimacy, focus, caring, necessity, skin, see, need, inviting connection, soft, listening, hug, life, skin, temperature, connection, feeling, touch, type of touch. That's type, oh, yes, type, oh, we do that a lot. We do that a lot. And also, feel free to have a look around. This invitation is for us to feel where we are as a group, right? To feel the skin of the group in a way. And if any ideas, either in relation to the words that you offered or the words that came up for someone, from someone else, and now you feel some sort of resonance, please feel free and speak up. I would like to hear your voices. I don't like monologues.
I'm a Reiki practitioner, and when I touch, my hands are very warm. Not always, but they feel warm.
Yeah.
And it helps me feel calm.
It helps me feel calm. Yeah. I echo that. It helps me feel calm. Go for it.
My words safe, comfort and home. They are applied to myself, not coming from anyone else necessarily, but just that I think it's to do with being visible.
Yeah.
So being touch makes me feel present, alive, here, visible, seen.
Present, alive, here, visible, seen.
Yeah.
I echo that. Was there a hand here? Or did I see? Did I make? Oh, it was a response. Of course, we're going to have a lot of physical responses. I intentionally leave space because each one of us has their own timing.
I really like the word nothing.
Yes.
To touch and in relation to partner work or being in relation to another person, touching another body. Because for me, it somehow allows me to desexualize a little bit, and it's just becoming a form of experiencing another body without necessarily going into different realms. It's just what it is. It's just mapping something, another body, and experiencing that through the hands and through the touch.
Yes. It's a nice word. Sometimes I feel that we load experience and bodies with so much, and we forget the simplicity of it. I absolutely resonate.
The name of the song, which I love.
Yes, and we love songs, and we love rhythm, and we love the responses again that can come up out of it, absolutely.
And the transmission, the chimpanzees talk touching, although it's more cleaning, but it is a transmission of information through touch, just like verbally they...
And you know what word pops up? Caring. There is something about this. I mean, the quality, the attention they carry when they do that.
And if, sorry, just to complete, and if they don't...
I'm going to lay out some rules in a sec, but one rule is that in this space, we do not apologize for no reason.
So unapologetically...
Unapologetically, thank you.
Unapologetically. If another chimpanzee doesn't touch you, you die, because it gets dirty, so it's a...
Yes. And you know, I mean, that there is research. The famous piece of research is about the orphans in Romania, right? And how they were deprived by touch, and how different experiences and diseases out of it came up. So there's something about touch deprivation, and there is something about, you know, our urgency to maybe fill in this gap if it comes up, as it hit us like an avalanche during the pandemic, right? My current experience is, did the pandemic happen? Did something happen? It is so blurry and so loaded in my current state and memory and awareness. It's strange. So, you may have gotten that this offering includes aspects of a workshop. I call it, though, a performance workshop because we're going to start from a group workshop, but gradually and magically, it will be developed into some sort of interactive performance. Ooh. Now, this performance workshop has a structure, right? And it is my responsibility, again, to name this structure. You may have gotten already that this is some form of introduction, right? Then we're going to have a little bit of warm-up, which is going to be developed as much as you would like to in bigger or smaller physicality. I'll come back to it. Through this time, we're going to explore a revisited reading of touch, of what touch can be and how we can experience touch that I have ended up, particularly through this project. And then, at some point, when I'm going to feel that the mind of the room is going to be ready, I'm going to move on into a scripted text, a scripted monologue. But mind you, because this monologue emerged through interactions, during the pandemic I set up one-on-one Zoom sessions. It is full of invitations. So my prompt is, please, when you feel that I get into that mode, do not go, oh, okay, Christina is now performing and I can sit back and relax. I'm not this sort of performer anyhow. My suggestion and my prompt will be for you to stay actively engaged and keep responding to the invitations. Good? So this performance workshop, actually, you know, it's been quite difficult for me to find the right terminology to describe this because it's a new game. I like calling things games. And as each game, it has rules. And mind you, not restrictive rules, rules that can make us feel freer and more relaxed, hopefully. Are we ready for the rules? Thank you. So, this is a non-judgmental space of invitations, not instructions, invitations. If you like instructions, this may not be the perfect space for you. So this means that I'm going to be inviting you, and you will be responding as you wish to, mindfully, physically, both mindfully and physically, within my personal space, and it will come back to that, taking care of myself and taking care of the others. I can stay seated. I can stand up. I can stay on spot. I can move in the space. We have such a beautiful studio today. I can have my eyes open. I can have my eyes closed. I can be somewhere in between. In other words, you may be familiar with, I can have my gaze soften. You can look at me. You can move with me. You can copy me if that makes you feel more comfortable. You can just ignore me and you can listen to me. Mind you, I'm not going to get offended by any sort of response. Clear? And let me reiterate, because my dad used to tell me that revision is the mother of learning, particularly as we're working on touch, which is described as the mother of the senses too. So, to reiterate, for as long as I take care of myself and I respect that every single person in this room is in their own process, it is my responsibility to respond to the invitations as I wish to. It is my responsibility to respond to the invitations as I wish to. It is my responsibility to respond to the invitations as I wish to. It is my yay, to respond to the invitations as I wish to. I have been given permission. 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 Thank you. Should we try the rules? Just to check whether you were with me. So you may wish to stay seated, or you may wish to stand up, and my invitation is to go for a little bit of stretching, so we understand what this personal space is. The personal space, yes, thank you. It's the bubble in which I can move with my limbs extended, and it has dimensions. It offers space in front of me. It offers space behind my back body. It offers space to the sides of my body. And also, it offers levels. I can go up. I can go to this middle level. I can go down. I can go to the floor. And as we play with this dance in inverted commas of opening and closing, my invitation to you is to start noticing how my skin is moving with me. How my skin is this membrane that envelops, hugs my body. From my face to the back of my head, my torso, my arms, my legs, feet, toes, fingers, fingertips. And another offering that I would like to add here is the coordination between movement and breath. So you may wish, as you expand, no matter how small or big the expansion is, it may be just that I'm opening my hand, right? To breathe in, and then when I go to folding in, I breathe out. And just notice, observe how I arrive into my body, and more specifically, into my skin body. Warming up a little bit the skin mind. Try to keep the rules in your attention, non-judgmental. I'm observing. How much do I allow? What is the quality of this allowing? And then, friends, can I call you friends? Thank you. You may wish to stay seated wherever you are. You may wish to keep standing. Just find a comfortable position, wherever you are. I would like to offer the first principle in this reading of touch that we are exploring. Thank you. Thank you. Take your time. And I'm offering the source of contact. Intentionally, I've put these principles here, but of course, this is just for a little bit of a visual input if you're visual people. Can we agree that when we think of source of contact, the first organs that may come up into our minds are our hands? Yay? So, mindfully, I would like to invite you to bring your hands together in any way you wish to. You may not have to change anything. And just to give you options, in case this will give you more comfort, it may be palm to palm. It may be I'm taking from you too, interlacing my fingers. It may be one hand on top of each other, on top of the other, sorry, with my palms facing up. It may be one palm facing down, the other palm facing up, literally. There are myriads of ways. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you arrive there, I have a philosophical question for you, but let's try to not to make it too heavy. Can I distinguish which hand is touching and which hand is touched? And I'm offering that to you, friends, because this is literally the magic ability based on which we can possibly get resources from self-directed touch. Can I tell? Of course, there can be always initiation. Let's say the right hand wants to move first, and it meets the left hand. But when they meet, can I separate which hand is touching and which hand is touched? Frowning, thinking. And I just accept that. That's an observation. Oh, okay, I take that in. And now, I would like for us to focus on the actual points of contact. Let's delve into the detail. As my hands are meeting, which little bits actually come in contact? Is it the tips of my fingers with the bottom of my palm? And of course, feel free to make transitions. Is it larger surfaces? And after this initial observation, my invitation is for us to start moving between smaller and larger points of contact. Only that, dwell in the simplicity of that. So it can be the tips of my fingers touching the knuckles of the other hand. It can be, again, the full surface of the palms. And allow this journey, allow this ongoing transition from smaller to larger points of contact, only with our hands. And I would like for you to notice how, unintentionally, right, we start playing with some sort of hand-based, touch-based choreography. Only with that. The journey from smaller to larger points of contact. Follow your curiosity. Follow your own inquiry. How is it to meet the back of my hand? Are there any points of contact that feel a little bit, unfamiliar? Be curious and respond to your curiosity. The simplicity from larger to smaller points of contact. Thank you, that's it. And you may already notice that something is softening. You may already notice shifts in your breathing. You may find yourselves being, okay, I'm not sure, I want to move more. Just observe, notice. Don't judge. And then, as you do that, I would like to introduce the next principle, pressure. Something that changed massively my perception to contact or touch is the zero of pressure. So what if I allow my hands to meet as if I touch the surface of water, as if I don't want to change something, as if I don't want to direct it, just be there. Zero of pressure, no pressure at all. And again, notice, because I'm with you, what is happening to your breathing, what is happening to your attention. What is happening even before you allow this contact, which gives space in the experience, or at least this is the intention. And then start responding to what feels right and supportive for you, and start adding pressure, only to the extent it feels nice. Play with different levels of pressure. It may be just adding a little bit of resistance. It may be offering more. Really listen to what feels right for you. And the more you play with that, notice how the different levels of pressure, starting from your hands, affect the rest of your bodies. There is this ongoing dialogue between, the extremities and the rest of my physicality. And always feel free to return to zero of pressure and then start playing with adding volume of pressure. Notice what feels welcoming for you in the moment. And you may notice that within that, we maintain the awareness of the points of contact. So again, it might be that my palms are meeting each other and I play with different pressures, this prayer position that may be familiar from other practices like yoga too. Or I may wish to go to smaller points of contact and play with pressure. As you do that, you may realize that different pressure takes me to different structures of my hands. So with more pressure, we may be more familiar with muscles. With less pressure, we may feel more the bony structures and the spaces in between the structures. Yay, that's it. Follow your curiosity. And now I feel it's time for us to go to the next level. Of course, we have been moving through our hands, but movement hasn't been our primary guide. So now I would like for us to focus on movement. What sort of movements can come up between my two hands? It may be rubbing. It may be brushing. It may be patting. It may be tapping. It may be stroking. And again, it may be active stillness. What is happening before the movement? So now, allow yourselves to go for any sort of movement that you wish to explore in between your hands. Another step in this touch-based, hand-based choreography. That's it. And of course, you may start with one movement choice, let's say tapping, And then tapping may want to become rubbing, and then rubbing may want to become brushing. And then brushing may want to become stillness. Again, I'm talking through my experience just to give you a little bit of more comfort if needed. Yes, that's it. Dwell in the details. And of course, again, as we're focusing on movement, you may realize that the source is there, that the points of contact are still there, that the levels of pressure are very much still there. And as we have established that, let's make it more juicy. We return to the source of contact. So now take whichever movement, again, feels right for me. When I say for me, I mean for each one of us. And start using it to the rest of your skin body. So again, it may be that I take patting. And I literally start, what was the word that we liked? Mopping. I start mopping the rest of my skin organ. Don't forget any little bit of this landscape. And again, you may wish to shift from one movement to another when you meet different parts of your skin organ. It may be brushing in the length of the limbs. It may be tapping on the face. It may be using the wholeness of my palm and just allow a little bit of stillness. And as you do that, you may find yourselves wanting to become a little bit more active. You may not. But if you do, please feel free and respond. Hands to the rest of the skin body. Search, research all the little bits. From the front of my torso to the back. All the areas that I can find that attract my curiosity without feeling that, oh, I need to overstretch myself. And unless, of course, this is part of your inquiry. This is where the study takes you. And you may start feeling some sort of buzziness, a sensation out of that. As I tend to say, it's my own body anyhow, right? I have authority on it, nobody else. You may start realizing the sounds that can come up out of that. And as you develop your physicality, if you're there, I want to give all the options. You may start noticing that, oh, okay, I can move away from only hands and the rest of my body, and I can start meeting different points of contact. So it may be my upper arm and the inner part of my thigh. It may be my elbow and my knee. start mapping all the different possibilities of points of contact through the full source of my skin organ. What if the sole of my one foot meets the thigh of the other leg? What if my cheek meets my knee? What is this holding and this journey of my skin? Keep observing your breathing. Keep allowing this counter support. I move and I breathe. I breathe and I move. That's it. So now, you may realize that organically, oh, I meet the skin of the space. And I meet the skins of the space if I come across other qualities as well. So from the body to body, points of contact, I go to body to space, points of contact. Again, listen and facilitate the size and the extent to which this wants to come up for you. And you may notice that still, oh, okay, now the source is the wholeness of my skin. I have moved beyond my hands. But I still have the clarity of very specific points of contact. Focus on the points of contact that want to move you, whether body to body or body to space points of contact. Observe that you still play with pressure. So even with a space, it's so interesting to go for the zero of pressure in relation to the skin of the space, as I would like to say, and then adding pressure. What comes up? And then notice that I keep playing with movement. I can slide. I can stomp. I can rest. I can observe. Notice again my points of contact and then allow them to move me. Go for it. Allow yourselves to bring all the principles together. Through your curiosity. Where is my skin? is my skin? Is that skin? Is that skin? Can I sense it? Here it is. In the rising and falling movement of my lungs, the response of my skin as I breathe in and out. It rises with the in-breath. It falls with the out-breath. It rises with the in-breath. It falls with the out-breath. My invitation is for you to follow that, even if it is a tiny movement from this rhythm, from your breathing, from the rising and falling of your skin. I'm with you. I'm enveloped. I'm hugged by my skin. From my torso to my arms, hands, fingers, fingertips, from my upper to my lower body, legs, feet, toes. How do you wish to respond to that? Moving your attention to the wholeness of your skin. The skin, the biggest organ, a moving, flexible membrane. The curiosity of my skin membrane. What does it want to tell me? Looking inwards and looking outwards at small details. And bigger surfaces. Where does this journey want to take you? Touch? Body to body? Skin to skin? My skin and the skins of my clothes. My skin and the skins of the space. The space that holds me. The skin that holds me. I touch and I'm touched. I hold and I'm held. Play with that. Temperature, pressure, different textures, different skins. How about a touch that doesn't want to change, to direct, to push, to press? How about a touch that listens, sees, an interplay of the senses? What comes up in the transitions? What happens before? What happens before? What comes up in the transitions. From the body I see to the body I sense. From the skin I see to the skin I sense. There is a rhythm in that. There is an intention in that. There is weight and lightness. A light weight. As your skin organ travels with you, changes shapes as you change shapes. You're working together. You're thinking together. Each new point of contact is an awakening of tiny, tiny, tiny cells that want to move, interact, dance, breathe. Our skins are breathing. I'm breathing from my lungs. I'm breathing from my skin. I'm breathing from my lungs. I'm breathing from my skin. I'm breathing from my lungs. I'm breathing from my skin. I touch, I move, I sound, I speak. I touch, I move, I sound, I speak. I touch, I move, I sound, I speak. So now, I'll just go quiet. For you to listen more fully to yourselves, but I'm here, I'm witnessing, I'm totally with you. You have plenty of time. Keep observing your curiosity, where you are in this skin thinking. What qualities may have come up? And then it's going to be very clear when this wants to reach some sort of completion, some sort of conclusion for now. And when you arrive there, my very final invitation is for you to notice how in each shape, in each relation, we are always in a combination between body to body and body to space points of contact. You may wish to notice the quality of your attention there, the quality of your breathing there. And as we said, really give yourselves the permission to arrive and acknowledge where and when I want to arrive. How I witness myself in my body. Am I more open? Am I more flexed? Do I notice flexion in some parts, extension in others? How am I within my skin? Nice. All the micro movements, be patient. And then when ready, breathe it out. Shake it out and do any sort of movement that wants to be done. Use the space, use the holding of the space and really listen, listen, listen to what I need. What do I need? I recognize this is a lot of journey in just 1 hour and 8 minutes. So, I would like for us to take the next 20 minutes, if that's okay, for a little bit of written reflection. If you go back to your questionnaires, you may notice that there are 2 questions I'm curious about, and also there is a creative prompt. if I may borrow this. So you may see that the first question is, did something shift in your understanding of physical contact by experiencing this performance workshop? If so, what? And the second is, how do you intend to take up this understanding moving forward in your personal life, professional practice, or both? And then the third prompt is, you may wish to use the back of this sheet to respond to your experience through some creative writing. You may wish to start by I touch and. And now, my invitation is, if that feels appropriate for you too, to begin with a little bit of sharing of your creative writing. Surprise, surprise. And within that, of course, no pressure whatsoever. I'm just opening the space. Within that, the extra layer is, be as creative with this sharing as you would like to be. We've been practicing, we've been developing some sort of experience. And we don't have to raise hands. We have the sensation, we have the awareness of the group, just voice. And of course, if two voices pop up together, we are sensitive and sensible enough to negotiate.
Touch and I discover my own skin. I touch and I see myself. I touch and I let myself be seen. I watch and feel myself with loving curiosity. I feel my strength and my vulnerability. I caress and I press, feeling bold and comforted.
I touch and I am restored. I map my body and I pave myself into presence. I come into contact with the space through my skin and I blend with my environment. It's relational and there is only beautiful reciprocity. I paint on the canvas of the space with my living, breathing skin, and I come alive on a deeper level, somatically expanding out into an awakening up from mind trance. I let my body lead and do what it loves. It loves moving and dancing and coming into contact with and coming into connection with, coming into relationship with, yay! Coming into relationship with, so pure and innocent, this holy, sacred, sweet, loving connection, this sweet, loving conversation. I come alive again. Sunlight pours in onto my skin. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, I echo that. Thank you.
I touch and
Some of my favourite touches pens massaging up the fleshy bit of my arm. cold metal pipe on my cheek. Edge line of bench denting into skin under my foot. Hard press into cushioned surface on top of head. Blood rushing there. Touch of gravity in opposition on my skin upside down.
I touch and I listen. I let go sometimes. I find a greater sense of understanding. I gather myself. I receive. I guide myself. I feel. Touch. Listen. Being appreciative. Breathing.
Being appreciated, breathing.
I touch and I float into a dimension, one that is difficult to reach and remember in the life I have created. It is constantly available, but I do not think to use it. Think less, into it more. This can change the landscape that I have created by accident, through compiling moments of miscommunication with myself. This is how I will become unstuck.
This is how I will become unstuck.
I touch and I sense. I touch and I feel. I touch and I realize. I touch and I miss. I acknowledge, I release, I connect, I listen, I consent, I ask, I propose, I move away, I continue, I hope and I search, I learn, I surrender, I support and I hold again, I breathe and I find, I moan, I understand, I dream and I wake.
I dream and I wake.
I touch and I break. I touch and I breathe. I touch and I rest. I touch and I think. I question. I focus. I wonder. I relax. I notice. And I remember. I touch more than I'm aware of. I use touch more than I understand. I use touch to see, to feel, to breathe, to think, to rest, and most of the time, not consciously.
And most of the time, not consciously.
Yes. So,
And I just say thank you for this. We may wish to move into the more cognitive questions. I always use, there's something about the questions that are on the paper, and then maybe something new is now present for us. So you may wish to share verbally something that you have already responded to, or you may wish to share something else. This is the space.
I have a very old parent who's just gone into an old people's home. My father, we didn't have a particularly great relationship. He was quite unkind to me when I was small. And now he's 92 and in a home. And he just wants to hold my hand. And he holds my hand and he leans his head against my head. And the touch has changed completely the way I feel, because I just feel empathy and unconditional love. And it's the touch of the hand and the head that does that. And that in this space it's in my mind, came into my mind while I was working, but it's that incredible change, which is simply touch. Obviously there's lots of stuff underneath it, but the touch is what has changed everything.
The touch is what has changed everything.
Yeah.
This attention to the simplicity and the detail. Sometimes, we cannot be tuned in literally the whole time. It would have been overwhelming. But when we are tuned, what shifts? What comes out, as you beautifully shared before, what comes out for me, but what comes out for the relation? And I feel like a sensation in my heart when I receive the story of the relationship and this shift with the simple points of contact, hand and a little bit the side of the head. And there's also something about aging and changing and returning to something more open. Thank you.
My father passed away 6 years ago, and I remember in the hospital for the first time having the experience of being bigger than him, and that was just like it was the world doing this. But at the same time, he was a writer. He was the the denial, actual denial of the body. He was very intelligent and etc. etc. But there was something when I don't want to be too tragic here, etc. etc. But when the person is on the bed, that's the moment. I'm talking about consent or anything. When the person is kind of passed out or somewhere else, touches the only thing that you have, so that's the moment where, but in the brief moment where he kind of was conscious, he didn't like being touched too much, so that was kind of funny at the moment. So it was, the family had a transcendent moment, and he could like do something like that. So there's always these contradictions, like the human, and this is a paradox, or necessity, like burning necessity to be touched, and there's a million other points in my life, like for example, I was camping by myself, and I'm gonna self-discover for a month in the middle of the forest, and all I can think is like, I would die to be touched by anything, not even anything, and then like the fox come and touch me. So there's this, and that is, I think, is the tragic thing, which popped in my mind here at the same time today. This need to be touched, but all the everything that surrounds something which should be so intuitive as touching, being touched, or something like that. So it was good hearing your sharing. Thank you for this also.
Thank you so much. You know what pops up in my mind? Like the ongoing awareness of skin and personality. It's part of our identities, right? Stories, race, ethnicity, culture. But also, within all these different variations and expressions, skin has been always a membrane of connection, but also a membrane of separation, distanciation.
And one last thing on that also, just it's talking about mapping also, the bits in your body which are almost like a no-go zone. And why is that? I don't know, my feet, for example, top of my head, and sometimes it's not even the most controversial ones, the genitals or whatever. Just these, why? And it's so. And the thing that happened today is how do you open your eyes into the group, in the sense that it was very beautiful and I felt connected to everyone, but I was as if my eyes had, which was very positive, but also part of the paradox of how do you connect, right? Touch and
the paradox of connection. I feel like, sometimes we need to go in order to go out. Again.
Absolutely.
And there is no right or wrong. And this is the most magical aspect of it. I'm observing. Oh, okay, I noticed that. I noticed this other thing. I don't have to correct it. I don't have to change it. Let's see what happens next. And only this shift, I stick with the word of shift, only this shift of attention, the connection and the awareness that can bring. And there's something very interesting about, us being ourselves, being bodies, and then be like, wait a sec, I have skin here, at the back of my ear, and, okay, what is happening here? And, all the different changes that we can see on the skin, and, we may wish to embrace them, we may wish to shake them away. Yes.
And for me, it's also what I think about basically connected to memory and like touch and memory, which was quite present, I think, probably for a lot of people, but definitely for me during the pandemic, when touch from people was removed, not entirely, but for most people, like the people that you normally hang out with, so maybe only household members if you were lucky. And during that time, for me, it was really sometimes I had these moments, had nothing to do with my research or with the movement practitioner, but when you go to bed, that you kind of imagine another person going to bed with you and giving you that hug, that holding. And then my father has also passed away 3 years ago, and now when I think of my father, the most prominent thing that I think of is the sensation that I have when my hand was in his hand. When he was already quite old. It's quite astounding, I think, how much we can remember just through thinking about touch and how we were in contact with different people. And I could also, if I think of different people in my life, friends or family members or anyone, I can really imagine how their bodies feel against mine. And that, I think, is quite something that's really astounding, how that is possible, that we don't just remember through seeing a person, but also through touching and being in contact with the person.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's always, again, the element of choice comes towards whom do we want to go, and from whom do we want to keep some sort of distance. That is also, what else, the magic and the trap sometimes when it comes to problematic memories of the nervous system. The nervous system is such a treasure box because it gathers, and the cells of the nervous system don't renew as often, as the skin cells. And of course, on the skin, we have the endings of so many different nerves. So I guess it's absolutely organic, no matter what the neurologists say, what the theorists may say. If we don't connect with that, it's still theoretical. But if we really experience that, through this sense, memories pop up, it means that we have gathered information and we can draw on them whenever we feel like. Or, when the circumstances bring that up.
I work so much with people and myself trying to find themselves, trying to find their way. And it was so interesting to touch and be reminded that I am the way. Does that make sense? Like that I know. I know we know who we are in a deep somatic sense. And there was this kind of like surreal moment I had. Like it's like, whoa, that's my hand. Like it was very, and I think in kind of tacking onto this idea is starting to rise. Not idea, this knowing is starting to rise for me that I have. If I made space to hear them, I have more answers than I have questions. Does that make sense? And it's this really kind of beautiful thing of, I just don't think I've asked myself in a really long time, like, how do you like to move? What do you like to do? And I think that's, zooming out with COVID and, I'm clearly not from around here, like the moving and COVID and the thing, the pressure cooker of survival right now. Even just giving myself an hour and 8 minutes to go, how do I, to be curious, it just really unlocked. I keep wanting to write a piece on the thing, but I don't want to be like that friend, but it's true though, like if there's a knowing in the asking, does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know if I'm articulating this very well, but yeah, it was very freeing and quite empowering actually, very gently empowering. We know who we are, we just have to do it. Surprising, but really nice.
It's like you're wearing a different skin. You wear a false skin, it's not the real skin. In fact, probably as you get older, you get several skins that you wear that you don't, that form a barrier that can make you behave the way you want to be seen. And just simply strip all that away, which is what happens during the movement, that just goes because it's not doing anything. You don't need it. You don't need the makeup or the whatever it is. There's these other skins, and really just inside we're just the middle of an onion, aren't we?
I'm layering,
Peeling them off, getting rid of them.
I am with you in that moment. I sense, because I didn't tell you. I started witnessing you and echoing you and taking from you, right? And I think that I was reviewing that in that moment, and it feels so open in my body. And so I tend not to use that word, but when I use it, it really has a multi-layered explanation and depth. Beautiful. The beauty of being open, of being in that state of stripping down the layers that I may not need. And of course, sometimes we may need them. We're not the same, in any sort of context.
And it's a kind of vulnerability,
Absolutely.
which is you hide.
Absolutely. To me, it's always, it's easy to say, of course, and we all experience different expressions of it, but I do believe that vulnerability is the other side of strength. They work together. And especially, when we're working in creative contexts, embracing ourselves and then allowing the idea, the theme, the character we may be working with to affect us and play with change and allow another layer on top of it, but through ourselves.
also interested in what you said about the layers in relation to all the different touches that we have, and we just adapt so quickly every time. Like, we just pull another touch of our pocket, and it's like, I'm at work. I have a specific touch, like how I'll press the button on the lift, how I will open the door, how I'll open my laptop. I go home, I pet my cat. Immediately, switch on, completely different touch. Like, we have so many different variations of touch. I don't know if I'm actually aware of how many I have that apply to so many different circumstances in different volumes with the pressure, like everything we explored before. But I feel like we have, like, you know, created columns of, I don't know, like an Excel, to be super boring, an Excel of like different circumstances, like this applies here, this applies there, and we just click on them every time, and we switch so, you know, easily without again thinking about it.
Literally, there is no such a thing as one creative touch. And again, because of that, we can have the ability to start using it more and allow it to become, you know, some sort of guide for choices, either, you know, in our personal lives or in our professional lives. How do we feel? Go for it.
No, just quickly. It reminds me like how I was, because I've been in this studio for dance classes many times, and like it was like a kind of somatic, a lot somatic based work, and you'd think like with the amount of contact improvisation that some of us do, and like still the experience of the workshop with you felt like it's much needed for dancers. I was like, okay, there's like amazing classes, but this, as you said, like it's kind of like focusing on and allowing to really delve a little bit deeper in the understanding of like, okay, what we're working with touch a lot of the time. Yeah.
It's been a while I haven't worked with dancers, so it may be the right time.
I think especially too with dance, you can get so stuck in your head. At least that's my experience, and I've never been able to meditate in bodily stillness, and the only way I've ever feel like I've come close to a meditative experience is through this type of movement that we just did, like through the noticing and contact of different surfaces of my own body and other things and parts of the room, and it just feels so necessary, like getting to that place where I'm like, oh, how do I want to move, and what do I like, and who am I when I'm not separated from my body, because I feel like that a lot of the time if I'm trying to solve something, I get so stuck up here, and really if I just let it melt down, then it's like the answers are there. Yeah.
You know what, these are elements that have been deeply ingrained in how most of us, or many of us, have experienced education, right? In my experience, I have it more with singing. And then we all reach this point when we're like, oh, wait a sec, this is actually a process of self-knowing, a process of getting to know what I want to express, how do I want to express it. And this, again, is a sweet moment of shift. And it's totally up to us to navigate the next steps and how we wish to be. As creators, as human beings in this world.
but it feels as if at times, because of education and previous experiences, we have other layers that we need to remove.
I think it's so habitual and cultural as well, because there's so much pressure, especially in the States, on building this knowledge and that this is the only thing that matters, and there's no value on like knowledge of the body and how that is actually can be more intelligent than the knowledge that we try to hold in our brains. And I don't really know where I'm going with this, but it's not valued enough. Yeah.
Of course. And this is why embodiment practices have been actually present for ages, but it seems that it's still something that is quite overlooked. If we use a simple example like yoga, yoga is meant to be like a deeply embodied practice, right? Yet many practitioners choose to make it about building muscles and going for repetitions and which of course, if you do it consciously and in an embodied way, these will come up unavoidably. But it is not the ultimate objective, it's not the priority. And this is why I like distinguishing movement from embodiment. Or, in my vocabulary, I prefer even somatization. Because it includes the differences, it includes the relations, it includes the appreciation of this mind-body, inner-outer connection. On that note, I'm very much aware of the time. Does it feel complete?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you